put him on his back. Thurston, right foot kick, down the ground, into the in goal almost. Hodgson cuts it off. Hodgson taken by Norton. He took him late. Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside. Richards pursued. He pushes Johnson away.
Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 9th of June, 2026. You're back for another episode of the Tiger Town podcast with your hosts, Zach and Toby. Zach at this end, Toby. The other brought to you, as always, by Best on Ground Digital. Best on Ground Digital, the digital marketing agency that looks after the little guy. They will not steer you wrong. bestongrounddigital.com. Toby at the other end there. Tonight is going to be a context show. We're going to be placing context around a few things with some context because... yeah, what happened on the weekend happened on the weekend. How you going?
I'm keen to hear what context you're going to put behind it, but yeah, okay. Mate, I'm actually not too bad. I'm heading down to Sydney in 2 days because we're going to go down and watch the final game at Leichhardt for at least 2 years, I think. So that'll be good. But yeah, it's I wish it was after a better performance, but can't really change that now, can we?
No. What's done is done. So let's jump straight into that game.
Yeah.
So 68-0 against the Panthers. What happened?
They didn't show up. You can sit there and say, Penrith were perfect, and fair to say they were perfect. They did not put a foot wrong. But the flip side of that is we're abysmal. We made the wrong choice in almost every aspect of that game. So, as I think I mentioned this, because there's been quite a few shellackings over the last 5 weeks. I think I mentioned after the last one we got absolutely ramped. I tend to... while the doesn't do great for and against, I actually probably prefer those losses than the really tight ones because I get disinterested. I'll watch the game, but I won't be emotionally invested. I'll be like, whatever. And I'll just start thinking about other things. Whereas if it's a really tight loss, I'm pacing up and down the couch and tapping my feet and screaming at the ref. With this one, I was just like dissociated. So...
well, I'd love to say I can join you in that, but I'm not. I'd much rather lose in a close game than 68-0. There's a lot less ridicule when you're losing a close game, depending on who it's against, I guess. Anyway, I spoke about context. Let's put some context on it. Our side, it's no mystery to discuss the fact that we're short on depth. And it's something that we have endeavoured to try to fix this year and looked like we had. And early signs around asking people to come in and do jobs was really good. Jock wasn't in the first 19 or in starting 13 at the start of the year. At full strength. He still isn't. Came in and did a decent job, and we got some good wins early. There's a few other examples. Herbert came in and did well. I think, was it the Para game? I can't remember.
Knights game.
So there was a few good signs early, but, mate, you can't get away from the fact that other than injuries and suspensions aside, the people that we've had to call on this year in key positions, they just don't have it. They're just not up to it. And we are a side that when we're all there on deck, we can look good, especially when we're playing our brand of footy. And that's what we saw. But as soon as Adam Dewey went off and all the rot started from there, and Appy and Samuela and Buller and Twoll and all the rest of them, everything's just dropped off a cliff. Because when you've got to call on your Maverick guys of the world, who was just absolutely diabolical, and you look at Charlie Murray in the middle, and then you get Tristan Hope on later in the middle. Bunty didn't even get a run. Some of the mistakes and the efforts that Seyfarth was making, like Tino Tavana getting caught off his wing twice, like blatantly. This is just, it's not even reserve grade stuff that we saw. And we ran into a Penrith team who were full strength or basically full strength. Got all the ball. They got the rails run of things early with 54 tackles we had to make in the first 7.5 minutes.
Our own doing.
Which that is happening way too often for my liking. And it just snowballed from there. But mate, like to me, you know what? To me, there's a big difference between something like 44-0 and something like 68-0. Because you can get walloped in class and still somewhat put in 44-0 to a degree. 68-0, something's gone awry. And the squad, the club, the team, they don't have the personnel in place to compete on that level. And that's the bottom line. We've been smacked by injuries and suspension, and we've said it before, in key positions, and our next men up aren't ready. They're either not ready or they're not up to it. And sadly, a lot of our next gen wave of backups, your Haywoods, your Tapau Morses, your Godinays, your Duncombe's, your Attards of the world, these guys, we're playing long term because we're keeping them in flag. We're not exposing them early because those are the mistakes we've made in the past. And they seem like they're going to get the job done. But in the meantime, we continue to try and fail on these blokes that we're getting in, these seasoned veterans that just aren't up to the task. And you might get away with putting 2 or 3 of them in and around your side. You can't handle 5 or 6. You can't then have Appy throwing every pass above the runner's head all game. One of your better players. You can't have Seyfarth doing what Seyfarth did. So we're going to talk context. We talk depth and we talk exactly who we're missing. It's not excuse. It's the reason why it happened.
I don't disagree with that, but I also, I'm putting it out there because the coincidences for me is just too high. And how he's performing has just been shambolical. Don't even know if that's a word, but I'm using it.
It absolutely is.
Sick. But ever since Luai made his decision, that's when things have started going out. And I know there's coincidences and injuries and all that stuff, but we had one injury to begin with, and that was Dewey. And the Sharks put 50 on us. Then we had a suspension, which was Appy. And I don't know if that was in the same game.
I think it was late in that Sharks game.
And against the Storm, we had, I think, another 50 put on us, if not 40. Against Manly, we were missing Buller, and we had 40. Now, what I'm seeing there, there is no doubt what Sam and Appy bring in defense. But apart from that, defensive structures should have stayed. My concern has been, and I know everyone has said it, and I don't agree it's the same as the Galvin situation or anything like that, but my concern is that one of the leaders, if not the leader of this club, has led or has shown the side that he can't lead us and they don't know who to look to. That's what it's shown us. That's the way I see it. He has had 5 weeks to step up to the plate and own this team. 5 weeks. He has done not even a skerrick of it. And if I had seen some efforts and I had seen some glimpses and I had seen something from there, I would have sat there and said, okay, well, the personnel around him is just not right. But I haven't seen any of that. I have not seen it. I think for me, and it's becoming to me more and more clearer every game, every week, is that Jerome Luai is completely out of his depth. he was a great player in a great team. But since he started with us, I've been critical of him over the last 2 years. I don't feel like he's getting anywhere near the price tag he's offered. I can count on one hand the amount of owned games he's had. I can count on one hand. You've got people that were on train and trial deals that were doing better than him. And that's the thing. It's just like everyone talks about, he's Luai's taken PNG, he's done this, he's done that. It's security for his family, it's this and that. I'm like, I think the biggest thing is he knows he's out of his depth and he doesn't want to go down with, he doesn't want to do it anymore.
I'm not taking a counter position here. I'm just going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What do you want him to do? When the middles are making decisions that they're making, when Terrell May bites in twice that leads directly to tries, and again, this is not me arguing the counter. I'm genuinely asking. When he's surrounded by such incompetence on the weekend from experienced players and the reserve graders that were absolutely fucking deplorable, other than a couple of last tackle options, what more would you want him to do? Or what would you, in that side of a scoreline, that sort of an effort, what did you need to see him do?
We're not just taking this weekend as the sample case. We're taking the last 5 weeks as the sample case. If it was just the one game, I'd sit there and I'd go, look, yeah, you know what? But I think, and you know what, maybe not even the last 5 weeks. I'm taking the fact that I've seen 5 great games out of him in 18 months. In 20 odd, maybe even 30 games. I've seen 5 that I can think of. 5. And so, you take out this abysmal that was that entire team effort on the weekend. It wasn't, I'm not saying he's the fault, he's the reason that we got absolutely walloped. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is his decision to leave the Tigers, whether you agree with it or not, has affected how we've performed. How that's happened, I'm theorizing here. It's because the team has seen that their leader doesn't see a future at this club. And so maybe the belief isn't there. The confidence from their leader is not there. And so you're talking about very specific things. What should he do? What could he do? I'm not saying that him personally can make the one saving play every set of 6 and everything like that. What I'm saying is his aura and his personality, or the way that he draws people into him, and obviously if you play with him, you love him. That in, for better or worse, has actually affected us in a negative way since he's made the decision. And that has affected everyone's confidence. That's the way I look at it, is right now. And, again, take the weekend out of it. Take the fact that, back when you and I played fucking Div 3 when we were mid-30s, could have probably put up more of a fight than they could. Taking the fact that since he's made that decision, we had one of the best defensive records. I think we were second in terms of defensive records. Now, how can you categorically say that you had that if you have one of the best defensive records out of the league to now probably the worst defensive, if you marry up the last 5 weeks compared to everyone else, and say to me that that's not a confidence issue on the squad and he didn't play a part in that? Like, that's all I'm saying. And that's a rhetorical question. That's a rhetorical question. That's not, I don't expect you to answer that. It's, for me, like,
I just think they've lost belief, mate. That's all I think it is. And in reserve graders and young players, of which we have plenty in our side at the moment, belief is fragile.
But again, how is it not the fact that your leader is leaving because he doesn't see a future at the club? How does that not shake your belief, considering everything he said prior to that?
I don't know. Depends who you are. In the meantime, I've also re-signed other leaders of the club. Tito and Jareem and Talon and Terrell and Marcassini's not a leader, but the other boys certainly are. Like, the whole core of the side is sticking around. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I get what you're saying, and we all wish that there was more getting out of him on the field, but I just think he's so far and away from one of our biggest problems at the moment, and in what is reflected on the weekend. And I think that there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of context around why that happened. And yeah, he wasn't great either, but in the long list of things as to reasons why that game went wrong. Throw a stone in any
direction, you would have found a shit player.
Hey?
Throw a stone in any direction, you would have found a shit player on that field.
Yeah. Yeah, like, there was very few that could hold their heads up high. Anyway, so yeah, look, and I'm not trying to explain it away. What I'm trying to say is we were 5-2 heading into injury suspension city that we copped, and yeah. So sorry, just technical difficulty. Briefly, just stitch it back together. Just talking about Luai and the biggest problems. I think that I've said it a few times already. I think the cattle is the issue. It was going into the season. We were skinny in a number of areas. Hooker and second row were a big one. I still think we're short of prop as well. I think that's abundantly clear. Reece has now done a peck, or allegedly done a peck. I'm assuming that's the case. Bunty didn't get on the field, looked poor when we called on him earlier in the year despite all outward appearances. Charlie Murray was playing lock, looked good in the pre-season, was abhorrent on the weekend. And this week we've only just named Tony Sukkar because he's been out himself injured, and Ethan Roberts apparently was back in a mood himself as well in the second row. So, like, mate, we're scratching the bottom and we're piecing people together. I'm sure that the plan for Latu is not to stay as backup hooker, but we're having to do it at the moment because of where everything's sort of lying. And this week it looks like he might be starting hooker. So, yeah, that's if Jock even makes it. But we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show.
That's another issue. That's another issue that I'm sort of upset about, but that's fine.
Mate, it's a patchwork quilt at the moment.
Like
we can, and I reckon we'll do this as a premonition ahead of the naming the side against the Titans that you'll be there live to see, and go through and talk about what other players we would have or could have in those positions, or who are sort of still missing in terms of those changes, because there's quite a few.
Yeah, look, I'm still sticking to my guns. I still think that it's just hard to not see, like, I'm not saying it's causation, but it's hard to not see the correlation between everything that's happened and this decision being made.
Yeah, I think the timing is hand in hand. And that's what happens, though. The drums start beating when it starts happening. I think they've lost belief. That's what I mentioned before. And you need your senior players back in who are a bit more resilient to that sort of stuff.
But see, that's the thing we're talking about.
Anyway,
like when we're talking about senior players, I think that, obviously Dewey adds something to this side. Whatever positions he's in, he's adds something to this side. I think it's just his love for the jersey, and we talk about Terrell May discussing on Josh Mansour's podcast that he's loyal to Benji, and that's fair. But for me, when it comes to Dewey, he's loyal to the Tigers, and so I think having him there definitely makes a difference. But we're talking about senior players on the weekend. Yes, we were missing Sam, but is Sam really a senior player? It's his second or third year first grade. And then Dewey.
Third.
The rest of the senior players were there.
We're missing Twole in the middle as well.
We were.
Who we had to call on as well. We're missing Taylor May out wide, who is a massive presence on the edge, communicating wise, and helps to close that up. So like I get your point. There was still a few out there. Jareem, for everything that happened, did his best at the back, and he made a difference from what he could. But the reason I bring up individuals earlier as well is because I'm not going to bother going through and trying to break down try by try. But if you go back and rewatch it, and you are enough of a masochist to do that to yourself, which is the correct term. Go and look at the individual. Go and look at how the plays break down. One, Penrith executed perfectly and got lucky on a number of bounces and bits and pieces. It was their day. Everything fell their way. That's probably 2 or 3 tries worth there. Like the Tavana thing. That's two instances of being off your wing out of position where you didn't need to be. Simple, basic errors. And there's so many individual misses that are really poor. Lack of cover tackles. Failure to close the inside. There's examples where they over-compete, which is just not what you do. And then no one backs back on the inside. And I mention reserve graders not having cattle because the amount of decisions that were made by our next men up, as it were, a phrase that I hate, that led directly to breaks, tries, momentum, something, is the very thing that cost the side. Like if you replace your hopes with whoever, and you got a better option in there with R2, I guess. You replace Charlie Murray with Twal. You put Sam Weller back on that edge. You put Taylor back on that edge. I know you're running at right centre at the moment, but all these areas where we see things fall down, where the communication between links and this, that, and the other led to scenarios where someone bid in, someone didn't follow through. Those are all chances, and Penrith just took every last one of them. Like the vast majority of tries on the weekend were due to individual errors, and predominantly, they were made or involved one of our next men up. Now, I jumped straight to Hope. Hope didn't play that many minutes, but it's your Hunts, it's your Charlie Murrays, it's your Mav Guyers, and then you add to that the fact it's your Tino Tavanas, and you add to that then the fact that I don't think Appy had a good game. I thought Terrell May was poor through the middle. Fanua Bolo was average once again. So you've seen your players had a shocker, and the people that you asked to call on caused all manner of chaos in the middle, and we just couldn't get on top of it.
It was, yeah. And it's like one of those things too where we want to forget about it. We don't want to think about it, but hopefully they can learn from it. Because, that's not just that one, but like for the last 5 weeks, like the Dogs haven't been great and we only just scraped in against them.
Yeah. That's what I mean. So when I say I think we've lost belief, we limped home last week in the second half against the Bulldogs. The belief wasn't there. We were flying at 18-0 or 16-0 or whatever it was. Earlier in the year, that side, with a few more troops on deck, I think which would have gone on with it and buried them. But the belief has been hammered. I think a really good analogy for us at the moment is a chain, right? And bear with me for a sec. We've been able to beef up most of the links on our chain, but there's still some of the weak links in our chain are tiny. Doesn't matter how big the other links are and how solid they are and how well performing they are. You're only as strong as your weakest link. Other sides have very few weak links, and whoever they call on is almost a direct replacement or a very little fallback, and they don't lose a lot of strength through that chain. But as soon as we lose our main guys, like we're trying to tie it together with a piece of straw. That's sort of the issue. And so it doesn't matter how strong, if you've got enough of those weaker links in your chain, it's going to break somewhere along the way. And like I said, when you've got your Hope and your Murray and your Mav Geyer and your whoever else in whatever else positions, all within your side, people are going to make mistakes. But anyway, that's probably enough. Context is not excuses. Context is reasons why. And I believe that those are reasons why.
Look, at the end of the day, it just feels like Groundhog Day as well. How often have we thought about it's our, things are going to turn around, and then we just fall off a cliff again. Like, how does this keep happening? Like, who the fuck walked under a bloody ladder while throwing a mirror on the ground with a black cat running in front of him? Like, can you just leave us alone?
I'll be the first to get up the club. You know that. I genuinely think this is the first season in a long time where we've looked pretty solid, and then we've hit a horrid patch of luck. I genuinely think that. I reckon it's 80 to 85% our downturn has been caused by the injuries and the suspensions that we've suffered. It's almost exclusively that in my mind, and I think that's led to a mentality change. That's the hill I'll die on with it, and I think it just sucks because it looks like we turn a corner. Tell me this: we're still 6-6, mind you. Like, this is the plus side to it. We're a 50% win record. We're sitting in 10th, equal 5th, 6th, something like that. Tell me this: if we didn't have Appy get suspended, if we didn't have Dewey go down with his shoulder, if Buller never was out with his shoulder, even Jerome earlier in the year, if he didn't lose what he lost, and we lost Taylor earlier in the year, if Sam Weller's been there the whole time, do you think what has happened would have happened?
See, because of what I've thought about Romy just pulling that confidence away from us, I'm not sure, if I'm being honest. I'm really not sure. Like,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think that's just a scarred Tiger supporter. I think that's what that is. Most other sides that haven't been down the doldrums as long as we have would turn around, like South supporters last year. They got smashed. They couldn't buy an injury-free run, and they just sort of shrugged their shoulders because they're like, "What do we do about it?" They were a lot lower on the ladder than us, mind you.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that point, depth needs to be improved. And we've spoken about how we've got a good little run coming through. We've got a couple of fullbacks in Brooks and Attard. We've got a bunch of wingers around the joint. Oitman's floating around down there as well, and Sakura's still around. I don't know that they're ups on him. He's been scoring a lot of tries. A bunch of others as well. Second rowers. We've got a decent little crop of juniors coming through. Got some 5/8 next cabs off the rank with Luai moving on and Andrews and Latu. We don't know what's going to happen there. But, again, that's kids, so it needs to be backfilled with quality players. And every time we seem to bring reserve graders in, you know what they look like?
Reserve graders?
Reserve graders. And this has been the argument of a lot of people for a long period of time. This is not a new thought, but the Alex Seafarths of the world, your Tony Sukkers of the world, who's starting this week, these guys should be playing reserve grade for the Magpies because it is so hard to break into the first grade side. It includes the bench. And fully fit they are. They are at least on the bench with Sam Weller and KPP there. But, again, when you lose a few injuries, they get exposed. I genuinely think we're short in prop. I think we need a new prop partner for May, and I think it's Twal, which means I think we need a new lock, and I think it's time to unleash Latu as our lock. Because I don't think Fanua Bolle is up to it as a starting front rower.
No. It's the same thing that happened last year. Starts off strong and then he drops off.
Yeah. And he doesn't, he's almost fallen into a workman-like style, and I don't think that's what he's best for.
Look, it's just, for me, there's just too many gaps. There's too many holes. There's too many things to plug. And now with PNG and Perth coming to, it's only going to get thinner. There's just not the quality out there anymore.
Oh, I don't have a concern about that. I think that in time, those things can grow and build, and the game is building. For us specifically, though, moving forward, I still think we're short someone in the middle. We don't have someone who can dominate oppositions. The only time we see someone dominate oppositions is when Royce comes on and the game's going our way, which is a big roll of the dice, and we get about 20, 25 minutes out of him at best. And now he's looks like he's done a peck. That'd be season if it's a half decent one. And he may be gone next season himself.
Yeah, apparently going to Leeds.
Terrell May doesn't dominate the opposition. He's a great presence to have in the centre. So either we need someone who's going to physically dominate at number 8 or number 10, or we move Twal into prop, the new alpha dog Twally as prop leader alongside Terrell, and we look at playing more of a Isaiah Yoke, because the size of him, more of a Cameron Murray style lock in Latu. What that allows you to do, you've then still got backup halves options, so you can always slide in if you need to, depending on what happens with the halves longer term, Dewey and Luai, etc. You've still got 12 that can play lock, and then you play around with what you do on your bench. But Bolle, I think, has to go back to the bench. I think we're short punch in the middle, and like Appy's service on the weekend was so terrible.
Well, he actually started the rot. If you remember, that shit pass to Murray started that first shit try, and then it just went downhill from there.
Yeah. So
no, it wasn't Murray. It was Pole, actually.
Yeah. So I think, the reason I jumped to Appy quickly is that the boys haven't been getting the best of serves with him out, and then paradoxically, I have mentioned this before though, when he comes back, he throws every single pass right at their forehead for some reason, consistently, like regularly. I know no one will go back and watch the game, the minutiae of the whole game, so you can actually see something like dummy half service.
No chance.
Not good, eh? But anyway, it's a blip on his radar. We need something more in the middle. May, it's back to sort of May doing it himself, and Pole, he's going okay, but he's not that. Got to use him different. Sione, like again, is he an option? He's there or thereabouts. You can almost argue that you could play him at lock and Twally at prop, but it probably doesn't really matter.
See, I read it, I think it was off that Ryan on the sideline, and I agree with it, is this chopping and changing of Latu is doing nothing for his development. Jock has been...
Not true.
You don't think so?
No, we've had this discussion before, and I'm not discounting that opinion because I know what you're about to say. But he's getting first-grade time in a variety of positions. He's getting to understand the game, and this is by necessity because we need it. And I'm not saying I agree with it being the best way forward, but I'm saying it's not as if he's not being developed in any way, shape, or form. He's getting experience as a first-grade footballer. He's playing in the squad in a variety of positions. He can get to understand the game from a variety of different perspectives. I guess it's a case of how is an individual half prospect best managed? Are they best managed in and around the first grade squad, playing minutes where they can, getting used to the speed, getting used to the contact, getting used to how the game is played at first level? Or are they best playing in reserve grade and honing their quote unquote craft down there before they bring themselves up? It depends. I think as a football player, his development's going outstanding. As specifically a half, then I think in learning the craft specifically as a half, at least in game time, then yes, that's probably inarguable. But it depends in what way the team use him. That's the other thing too, that a lot of these players are hybridised players. Samuela Fainu was almost entirely in middle his entire junior career, including playing under 19 State of Origin. He played an edge early for us out of necessity. He got a run there, went well, and we stuck him there, and now he's a gun edge. So players need to be able to be versatile in that regard, and I think as a footballer, having Latu in around the first grade squad because he is so versatile is helpful. And I think that's probably where the distinction is. Sorry, I jumped in and cut you off.
But you've
lay
answered
that out there. You can have, I guess, right or refusal now, so you can pick that apart.
No,
if you want.
In all honesty, you've answered what I was going to say. So I know what you were going to say. You knew what I was going to say. So There's no point in elaborating.
Okay. I think that is the distinction, man. I think it's development as a footballer versus development as in a specific position. Yeah, like how are you going to develop being a centre? You need to play centre, of course. I get it. But I guess you know what he is. Latu Fainu is an asset to the West Tigers, and I think that we are still figuring out how best to use that asset, and we're not rushing it. And in the process, he's getting experience in game time and yada yada yada.
Here's my concern.
One way to look at it.
Here's my concern. If we keep chopping and changing him, and he doesn't play in his preferred position, does someone come and swoop and take him? You know, we haven't locked down the Fainu brothers yet. And if we keep putting him in a position, like, I honestly think that Jock hasn't added anything from a half perspective for at least the last 5 weeks. I thought he started off the season well when he had to take over, but he's dropped off like everyone else has. His confidence has gone down the shitter.
He's lost belief, like I said.
But I would put him at hooker and I'd put Latu at half. I think Latu adds so much more creativity, and that's what we need. Like, Jock's kicking game is one of the big reasons I was pleased with him. I thought his kicking game was really good, and now that's another thing that's gone off a cliff. And he's turned into Luke Brooks in terms of his end over end. You know, it's the same kick over and over again. He's not digging into the line.
Yeah. One big issue I think we've had missing Dewey is a long kicking game, because a lot of it's fallen on Jock, and he doesn't have a long kicking game. He's like Timu Adam Reynolds with his medium to short-term kicking game. Sometimes he's on and he's got a great little kicking game, but it's not consistent enough to be first grade great, if that makes sense in my opinion. Mm. Dewey has a long boot and can kick us out of trouble, and does it 2, 3, 4 times a game, often. He can kick early and get effect out of it. Jock kicks early, and it's hard to get distance and hard to get the momentum swing off the back of it.
Yeah.
So to jump into that discussion about Latu into half, I 100% agree with you. Actually, that's a lie. I don't 100% agree with you, because I am a little bit torn on it. I agree with you. I want to see Latu at half. Ironically, my very issue, I think, because we don't have Dewey in the side, who ironically inconveniently would have to play halfback with his kicking game. I don't think they're playing Latu at half because of the kicking. I don't think Jerome's kicking game is something that they rely upon or that they have trust in. I don't think Jerome likes kicking. That's why Jock takes it over. And if you take Jock out of the side, Latu's got an okay little short kicking game, but he's not notorious for having a good long kicking game from my memory. And I think that's a concern with halfback. In fact, in a lot of ways, if he just went and did nothing non-stop kicking drills and kicking training, I think he'd find himself in halfback or in the halves way quicker. I think the major concern, people talk about his voice. Okay. I get it, but I don't think that would be a major reason. I don't think he's that much of a church mouse that it would be that detrimental to him. Jerome Buller was exactly the same way. Didn't stop them from playing him at fullback. I think it's the kicking. And I think, Javon Andrews aside, you could get away with having Dewey and Latu as a combination, with Latu playing half as first man, Dewey playing second man and major long kicker. I think that could work, but that then is the Luai conundrum. I'm not suggesting we drop Luai, but I'm saying in the event, I think that would be a good combo. I think the fact that Luai, they don't trust Luai's kicking game, and Latu, from my memory,
he's not a renowned long passing game right now.
Hey?
I don't even trust Luai's passing game right now.
No, I know. So I'd put him at half, but Luai would have to do more of the kicking. And Jerome Buller doesn't kick. And Appy does kick, but not much. So Appy would need to up his kicking, and he's not even playing this weekend.
Mm.
So there's a few things going on there.
Yeah, I think, see, again, the thing about having these kind of discussions is you have a tendency to look at the bigger picture, whereas I focus on little fucking aspects. So it does help.
I just think it's more complicated than simply this or simply that. And I understand both sides.
Simply the best.
It's the same reason that Latu, in my opinion, was named at 9 instead of straight into half because we don't have the hooking stocks. We've got Josisi Lenyon making his extended bench naming reserve debut this week because there's not a lot of faith in Hope, and I think that it's probably a good time to jump into the team list, I guess. But
Yeah.
we're putting players in positions because we need other players who are second drop or third drop to cover the other position that you'd rather put that player in, but we can't do that. Like it's a jigsaw at the minute. But, these things do come to an end. Mate, before we jump into looking at the Gold Coast game, which might be a little bit more positive, let's put some optimistic swing on it. Is it time, mate?
Unfortunately, it is again.
This is not going to be a fun one because we basically pinch the broom off the Bulldogs and we hand it right over to Penrith. And on that note, I mentioned optimism. I should have waited till after this.
Yeah,
Nobody's
that would have been
weekly Pathways Roundup.
So again, we got a whitewash, but it just wasn't the way that we wanted. Both teams went down.
Speed run.
Yeah, it's I think I mentioned it last week. I have subscribed to Bar TV, so I watched it live, and I will say it looked like at instances. That's good. I enjoyed that. We looked good in patches.
Yeah.
The Panthers got off to a pretty flying start, and then we crawled it back, but then they just dominated the second half, and we finished with a late try. So it was tries to Gabriel, Lanyon, and Tatua. Tatua actually played. Again, go talk to the boys over at Faithful whether it was his debut, but I think it was his starting debut for the New South Wales Cup.
Mitch?
Mitch Tatua. So I actually thought he played well. I thought he did good. What I will say is big man Tapau Moores is an absolute beast. Definitely very raw. He's got some work to do. So, but he's 18. So, yeah. But yeah, went down 16-30 to the Panthers out at Lincoln. And then for the boys on Sunday, we went down to the Panthers 22-28. I didn't actually watch this game live. I just watched the highlights on Bar Sports. But yeah, again, Attar just, we went down, yes, but I also think that they're leading the comp as well. Jersey Flegg, Panthers are. So Attar just, he's too good for Jersey Flegg, but I understand why he's down there. Tries to Talfaiga, I think that's how you pronounce it. Smith, Biles, and Talisau. So that was 22-28. Also at Lincoln Oval as well. So, but yeah, as I mentioned, halftime it was 4-24. So we actually had a massive second half comeback. So yeah, but yeah, if Buller goes down, it's Attard straight in for me. So that's it. I'll have an extra game next week to discuss because the Women's Premiership kicks off this week.
True. That's true. Something else, a bit more content to watch. Hey, I want to ask you a question off the cuff, and this might be something to people listening out there. From this point, 6-6, we're currently in 10th. If we stay in 10th and finish the year in 10th, are people happy?
No. That's an underachievement.
You need to speak in longer sentences because if you remember, I don't hear the first couple of seconds when you speak.
No, we don't. No one's happy. Well, most people shouldn't be happy because that is an underachievement.
You think so?
Well, let's say that we get all of our players back on board and we still keep that record of finishing 10th.
So for you at this stage, sitting in 10th equal... bear with me, sorry. We are equal 8th, and we are 2 points off the 4th place Sea Eagles. So we're one win away from 4th place. A little bit of for and against, but we're not going to mention that. For you, from this point, it is still finals or bust.
Yep. Because the promise that we had at the start of the year can't fall off a cliff the way it has. There has to be something else going on in the background. So if that's the case, like if we do finish 10th, yes, it is a fail from me. Because if we have our full strength side, we took the Warriors over in New Zealand and we played a clinical game. It was a great game.
That wasn't at full strength. That was without Tiny and with Jock playing in the half.
So again, did you notice who was out that game too, by the way? Luai.
I know who you were alluding to. You're going to make all the Luai.
Fucking I'm going to die on this hill.
That's a bit dramatic. I said exactly the same phrase earlier.
You did. So
I want to mention that our upcoming X number of games, the Titans and this is just current ladder position, mind you, Titans in 15th, Dolphins 2 points ahead of us in 5th, the Knights 2 points ahead of us in 7th, Dragons dead last, Warriors in 2nd, then we've got the Dogs in 13th, the Raiders in 14th, the Eels in 16th, the Dragons in 17th, a bye, and then we've got the Roosters, Cowboys, and the Panthers in the last round where they often rest players. So if we go through that little run of games, Dragons twice, we've got the Bulldogs in 13th, the Raiders in 14th, the Eels in 16th. We've got another bye, the Cows in 9th, which that's a fair match, and then a Panthers side possibly without some of their stars, and the Titans this weekend, which it probably adds a fair bit of credence to the fact that that's a pretty damn important game this weekend.
I said it against the Bulldogs that was going to be the momentum swinger. Obviously, I was completely wrong, and it didn't swing any momentum our way. But this is do or die, this game. I don't understand how we're favourites. I don't. The Titans just came off a win over the Broncos. And yes, we're at Leichhardt, but no Appy. So that's a big out. And we've conceded over 250 points in 5 weeks. So
yes, there are concerns, no doubt. Maybe probably a good time for us then to jump in and have a chat about how the teams are lining up. This Sunday, you'll be down there at Leichhardt. Last game, as you said, in at least 18 months. With it being shut for 2027, hopefully open for 28. We'll wait and see. 4:05 p.m. on Sunday. Fair few changes and bits and pieces. So here we go. We've got Buller at fullback, Taruva and Makasini are the wingers. Taylor May returns at left centre, Stafford Tower on the right. So that is basically our starting backline. Should be noted for the start of the year.
Yep.
So hopefully Taylor's going okay. He'll have Brimson, I think, to mark up on, so that'll be an interesting matchup. Got Jerome Luai at 6. Jock has been named at halfback. Terrell, despite the fact, that Jock has a hyperextended elbow, I don't reckon he'll play. But we'll talk a bit more about that in a second. We've got Terrell and Whenua starting props. We've got Latu starting at hooker. I think that might be the first time Latu has started at hooker, but I might be wrong. Tony Sukkar returns on the left edge in second row. We'll be marking Beau Fermor. We've got Kai Pearce-Paul and Sione Fain, who returns from a head knock in lock. Tristan Hope, the 14. Seyfarth, 15. Bunty Arfour, 16. Patrick Herbert, 17. Mav Guy, 18. Charlie Murray, 19. Luke Lealii, extended reserves. I don't know what he's done to piss people off, but surely can't be as bad as what Tavana did last week. Goodness me. Jasisi Lenyon in 21 and Javon Andrews in the 22. Quite a bit going on there, mate. First up, I don't believe Jock will play. I suspect that Latu will move to half. Bad. We'll have Hope start in hooker, which is terrifying. And then I think Jasisi will come in and relieve minutes around that. Yeah,
look, it was not a great hyperextension. You watched it short. I think, was it Hunt that actually ran into his arm? Because that's a big.
I think it was Skelton.
Someone ran into them. Who?
I think it was Skelton.
Oh, Skelton. Well, he's a big dude
I
as
think
well.
so. Big lad, yeah. And fun fact, that's exactly the same way that I broke my arm as a kid playing footy. Same thing. Arm reached out and a player came in and bent it. So I felt that one. It didn't get me in the elbow, but bent the old arm. So
I wouldn't have been surprised if it was actually Seyfarth. He seems to be taking out our players.
Fucking hell. I'm going to mention a couple of names on the interchange bench, and I'm going to say why I think they're there. Seyfarth, Bunty, I guess, didn't really get a chance. Hope, Seyfarth, Maverick Guy, and Charlie Murray. I think the only reason those 4 blokes are on the six-man interchange bench is there is no one else to call upon. You look at our extended reserves, we've got a 19-year-old winger, a 20-year-old or 19-year-old 5'8" who hasn't played a game before, and we've got another bloke coming in, utility 21-year-old hooker come New South Wales Cup lock, Jasisi Lenyon, for his named debut. I think that's all we've got, to be honest.
And that's concerning. Because I didn't think we had
I think there's a few lucky players in there.
Yeah, I didn't think we had 1,000 people out in terms of injuries, but it definitely seems that way.
Most certainly does. All right, let's have a look. Let's tell me something. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Why will this side work? And then I'll ask you why it won't. So I'll go first. Why do you think this side will work?
Because I think we have some big meter eaters out of our own end. I think they're going to swing a lot of momentum our way. So with Taruva back on the wing, Massey on the wing, Massey doesn't shirk responsibility, goes looking for work, and we know what Tito does. So I think that's how it's going. I think that's why it'll work. Having those boys on the edges. Why it won't work is because there's just no confidence. There's no belief, like you said. Yeah. Gonna stay positive. I think we'll win, but yeah, not confident.
No, and as you look across the side, there is just, again, to my point earlier in the show, there is just so much reserve grade everywhere there. We're being held together with super glue at the moment. Seriously, like there's the makings of a good core group in this side, and you can see like the back line looks good, which is excellent. So, well, I mean, depending on where the star turns up, last outing, last outing he was okay in defence in particular. He'll be marking Jalen DeGroot, who is pretty sharp, so he's going to have to be making good choices there. But that edge will be intact from the start of the year, which is my assumption is their pre-season edge, which is Stafford, KPP, Stafford, and Tito.
Yep.
The only issue being that Dewey won't be there. It'll be Jock in place of that, or it may well be Latu. Latu's a better defender than Jock. Yep. So that right edge could look better. This is my reasons why it will work. Taylor being back at centre is huge, even if he's just defensive and he's strapped up. I hope all goes well. My assumption is they've just told him you've got nothing. You can't do any more damage. If you want to, you can give it one more go. And he's gone, strap me up. So that's my assumption. I hope he's okay.
Yep.
But he's going to be on that side with Marcy. Again, that starting combination. So we'll see how that works. Hopefully his chat works really well. Jerome's on that side who is standard. And Sukar has been okay when called upon. I guess he had one game where it wasn't great, but he's been good in reserve grade, so we can only hope he's a better option than Seyfarth, given how he performed.
Oh, fuck. Anyone is.
The forward pack, it's a concern. Here's why it might work, because the Titans are missing Tino. That's why it might work. Mo Fotuaika seems to play really good because of the ties with his brother Masisi, who he lost to the Tigers. He just seems to turn up against us, so I hope that's not the case. Cleese Haas has actually been playing some pretty good football of late, and he was pretty solid in the game against the Broncos on the weekend. Beau Fermor has played Origin. And Cooper Bye's been looking pretty dangerous as well. And he's sort of come on. He's now starting lock for them. So they're a young, quick side. And if they play with confidence, then it's a problem. So why I think it might. Have you done not work? Yeah, you did both back to back, didn't you?
Yeah.
Why I think it won't work is that they've got a few more seasoned veterans in certain positions, and they are a side who tend to enjoy playing teams like us that can be a bit loose at times. So I think there's going to be holes galore because I think we've got, particularly in the middle, we've just got so many people in odd positions that we're just going to have to hopefully work hard for each other, not overcommit, and then work hard on the inside man, trust your players, make sure we make our tackles. And that'll go a long way. It's the one-on-one individual misses and individual reads that have been absolutely belting us in recent times, where teams have been good enough to take their chances. And if you saw Keanu Kinney's effort to beat the Broncos, he's a bloke that can take his chances. I don't like playing AJ Brimson. I don't rate him, but
he always seems to play well against us.
He brains us every time, and Kinney's fucking dangerous. So I worry about them. But let's jump straight to scoreline bowl prediction. What are you thinking?
I think that they're going to have a fucking pretty honest session this week in terms of video session. I think there's going to be a lot of people held accountable, and I think they're going to stand up. This is me putting a positive spin where I can. So I think we are going to win. I think I'm going to be 2 from 2 this year at Leichhardt, and I think it's going to be something along the lines of like 30-6. I think our defensive resolve is going to come to light. Bold prediction. I actually think Toa is going to have a game that we remember of his, like when he played the Cowboys a couple of years ago.
On Jalen
DeGroot. He's just going to give him the DX sign.
Okay. I'd like a game where Marcy doesn't act injured. See, I know he gets belted and he goes hard, but every game he's clutching something. I was like, don't break him. Why don't you just got him? Okay. I can see it going both ways. I could see us just falling off a cliff, and then I can likely see things going well. I'm going to back us in with an ambush. I think it's going to depend upon, we've got to start early. If we score the first 2 tries, I think we'll win and win comfortably. I think if we fall behind early like we have been, that belief will evaporate instantly. I can see a world where, to your point, the forward pack in particular get hungry and they play hard for the first 10. And if they get on top of the Gold Coast and then we capitalise on that, then I think it will go away. If we don't, I don't know that they can do that for much longer than 10 or 15 minutes. And I worry that if Gold Coast absorb it, they might just roll back over the top of us. So let's stay positive. I keep saying it. I have to say it out loud so I actually do it. Scoreline, I'm going to say they're going to score us a few points. They're going to put 22, but we're going to get ourselves 34-22, and that's probably going to flatter the Gold Coast. I don't think we're going to get them in an ambush, but mainly because it's the Gold Coast, and I know they had a good weekend game on the weekend, but they are a beatable side. The season has shown that, so hopefully we can have a few things go our way. We are due for a decent start of possession. Like, can we please start a game with a fucking football? Like, for a little bit?
Yeah.
Every single game, we are behind the 8 ball for the first 5 to 10 minutes every game in recent times, and it's yeah, it's always our doing, I bet. Anyway, I'm going to open that up because I know the direction you'll go on that one. Don't need to pull your chain, mate. All right, that might be us, ladies and gentlemen. The weekend was rough. It was horrid. Did you want to mention anything more on that other game?
No, fuck no.
Sorry, I didn't give you the courtesy. And we don't bury it. Tonight was not an alleviation of responsibility. Everybody is responsible for that. But there are reasons why that happened, in my opinion. Now, I have to agree. You can think it's indicative of a broken system that continues to be broken. I think there's a lot of other situations going on. So we're going to move on. Toby, you're going to be down in Sydney, mate. How long are you down there for?
Fly out Thursday, fly back Monday.
That's a good little break. That'd be good.
Yeah. Bit of a break away from the old hustle bustle of Brisbane.
Now, have you seen 2 Leichhardt wins in a season down there?
I haven't seen... No, I haven't. Because I was about to say I haven't seen 2 Leichhardt games in a season, but I have.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, but no, I haven't seen 2 wins.
Well, mate, this weekend, fingers crossed, you're going to see your second win at Leichhardt for the year.
Fingers crossed.
So it's been slim pickings in recent times. Even Sydney siders and locals probably haven't seen too many double Leichhardt victories in recent times.
Yeah.
All right. As always, mate, all West Tigers media is good media in our eyes. The West Tigers podcast, the West Tigers TV, and all their subsidiary shows. Get on over and follow them. The Ambush on Facebook, westtigersforum.com. Thanks to our sponsor, Best on Ground Digital. Best on Ground Digital, digital marketing agency that looks after the little guy scoring the corner with bestongrounddigital.com. Matey, all the best for your travels.
Thank you.
Let's look to the second half of the season. 6-6, all is not lost. 6-6, players coming back, playing some low-ranking sides. Anything can happen. And look, let's be honest.
8-game winning streak.
Probably sitting in a better position than we have in quite a few recent years. So all is not lost.
No, but it's definitely flat.
Trying to do what we can to pick ourselves up, mate. Nothing more to say than go the mighty West Tigers.
Up the West Tigers.